What is up, everybody? Welcome to DFS by the Numbers. This is my Dana White's Contender Series breakdown and prediction video for week number 10. It is the season finale here for Dana White's Contender Series, and yeah, to be honest, I'm kind of disappointed. You would think that Dana and them would want to maybe end the year on a bang, end the season on a bang here, but I don't know. I mean, I'm not high on any of these 10 fighters, to be honest. I think a lot of these fights are probably going the distance. Just researching this card, I don't know. I mean, I think this is probably the worst week of the year, to be honest. In my eyes, it is. With that said, though, I thought it's been a phenomenal season. Last week was awesome, ton of finishes, a lot of very exciting prospects going to be entering the UFC. But this card, I'm not so sure. But as always, gonna be breaking it down before we do. So if you guys could do me a favor, like the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, leave me a comment as well. All three of those things go a very, very long way. This video is brought to you by Prize Picks. If you guys are new to Prize Picks and want to check it out, use that code DFSBTN and you'll get $50 instantly when you place your first $5 lineup. It doesn't matter if it wins or it loses, you'll get a free $50 into your Prize Picks account. Use that code DFSBTN, and yes, they do have Prize Picks for Contender Series. And yeah, I got a comment last week, and this guy basically said that I'm working for the books, I'm giving out wrong picks on purpose. He said I'm getting all my predictions wrong, I'm useless, and I thought to myself, man, have my predictions really been that bad this year? I thought it was doing pretty good, and my record for the year through 9 cards is 31-13, which is 70.4%, which I think is pretty good, especially for a Contender Series, like where we see just a ton of big upsets, and we've seen a ton of big upsets this year. So I thought I'd been doing pretty good. And man, if that guy knew how much time I put into this, I don't think he'd be commenting that. I mean, Dana White's Contender Series is an all-day thing. For me, at least, I have to tape the fighters, I do the fighter notes, I do all the graphics, I do the breakdown video, I do a betting breakdown video on the website, I do an article, just do a ton of stuff for Dana White's Contender Series. So it's kind of an all-day thing. And yeah, a lot of work goes into this. So thank you guys for a fun season. It's been a good one. Hopefully we can end it on a high note here. With that said, though, this card is a nightmare from a picks perspective. But we'll see. Tough card. But I say we get into it here. And we're going to start with the first fight on the card. It is Mohamed going against Jonathan Micallef. We'll start with Ado, who is training out of 613 Fight Factory. He's 24 years old, 5'11", with a 76-inch reach. He's 5-0, and 5-0 in his only 5 fights. No notable wins or losses for Ado. He does have a 100% finish rate. 20% of those come by knockout, and 80% of those come by submission. He's never won a decision yet. Some notes I have here on Ado. He throws very hard leg kicks. He's coming out really hot right out of the gate. He's a finisher, and he's very dangerous, really wherever the fight goes. He's got some power on the feet, but he's not really looking to strike in a lot of his fights. But when he does strike, he does hit very hard. He puts a lot into his punches, and I've seen him flatline guys before. In terms of the grappling, that's where his bread and butter is. He's looking to get the fight down to the mat by any means necessary. He doesn't mind getting taken down. I think it might have been either his last fight or the fight before where he got taken down like 10 times, but just kept getting back up, just kept scrambling. He's just nonstop. He can get very sloppy and end up on bottom, and like I said, he can get taken down like that. He doesn't really mind being on bottom. It looks like he doesn't really mind being taken down because his ground game is so good, and he's very confident in that ground game, but his get-up game's like elite. Like, he can get taken down, he'll either pop right back up, or he'll scramble and end up on top of you. So, yeah, the takedown defense is bad, but I'm not sure if that really matters. But yeah, he's relentless in terms of trying to get his opponent down to the mat. He'll try, and he'll fail, and he'll try, and he'll fail, and then eventually he will get you down, and once he does, you're in trouble. Once on top, he's dangerous, and he's very overly aggressive, I'd say. Definitely a submission over position type fighter. And yeah, playing around on the mat with this guy I think is a very bad idea because eventually he will find that submission, he will find that neck, he will get into mount, he will take the back, and he will get you out of there. The pace he sets is incredible. It looks like he can go 15 minutes if need be. I saw him get a 3rd round finish in one of his fights. He's just nonstop the entire time. I'm very impressed with him, to be honest. He does make a ton of mistakes. I think he is a little bit green, but it really doesn't seem to matter, and he's just fun to watch overall. So really liked what I saw from Ado, and I think he's a very fun fighter, and I think it's going to make for a very fun fight here, and one of my favorite fights on the card, actually. As far as Jonathan Micallef, this guy's training out of Resilience Training Center. He's 25 years old, 6 foot with a 77-inch reach, 6-1 and 4-1 in his last 5 fights. No notable wins or losses for Micallef. He has a 66% finish rate. Half those come by knockout, 33%. and half those come by submission, 33%. Some notes I have on Micallef there wasn't a ton of footage out there on him. Was able to watch a few fights, but from what I've seen, he looks to be a pretty solid striker. I like his kicks to the body, really good volume on the feet, has some solid combinations as well, has some good power in his hands and kicks, and I've also seen him land a nasty head kick as well. If he hurts his opponent, he's looking to swarm them and get the finish, and he just has a lot of tools on the feet overall, it looks like, and I do think he's going to be the better striker in this matchup for sure. I saw him land like one of the nastiest head kicks ever on this dude in his MMA debut. Landed the head kick and just knocked this dude out cold. It was kind of hard to watch, kind of sad too. But yeah, the head kick was nice. He does look pretty hittable on the feet, and he has been knocked out in his only loss, which is something to mention. So durability might be an issue. Striking defense might be an issue as well. The takedown defense does seem to check out from what I've seen, though, but I haven't seen a ton of guys really try to take him down, especially to the point of like Ado, where Ado's going to try to take him down 50 times probably. But from what I've seen, his takedown defense did seem to look, fairly solid. And he will go for takedowns himself. He can grapple in his own right, but I'm not sure he would really want to do that here. Maybe he will, maybe he won't. And he does have some submissions on his record. Looks like he does have some solid jiu-jitsu. Final thoughts on this matchup. So Ado being from Canada kind of scares me because Canadians this year in 2024 have been just awful. I mean, just terrible. The only one I can remember winning a fight was like Jillian Robertson. Outside of that, it's just these Canadian fighters are taking some serious L's this year. I mean, Jasmine Jazz the Vicious has been decent, but yeah, outside of those two, I mean, it's just been rough for Canadians lately. But I think I'm still going to pick Ado here. I was really impressed with his relentless, nonstop style, and I think the style is going to give a lot of guys some problems. He's still only 24 years old, and if he can clean up some of these mistakes, I think he could be pretty good. I like the power on the feet, but it's his nonstop wrestling, the scrambling ability, and the dangerous submission game that I really like. I think he pushes the pace here and finds a finish in the second or third round. So give me Ado here to win this fight and win it by third round submission. Taking a look at the odds here, we have Micallef minus 150, Ado is plus 120. All five of these fights are very closely lined. I think the biggest favorite on this card is maybe minus 150 or minus 160. So a lot of very close fights, and this is one of them. Moving on to the next fight, we have Julieta Martinez going against Leslie Hernandez. We will start with Martinez. She is training out of Team Phoenix. She's 20 years old, 5'1", with a 61.5-inch reach. She's 7-0 and 5-0 in her last 5 fights. No notable wins or losses for Martinez. She's a really good finisher, 86% finish rate, 56% of those come by knockout, and 28% of her wins come by submission. So there really wasn't much footage out there on Martinez either, which is pretty annoying. And I was also not really able to find some of her most recent fights, which is also very, very annoying. But from what I've seen, she looks to be pretty aggressive in there. She's pressuring big time. She looks like a very fun fighter overall. Her volume's very good. She throws a ton of kicks, has a solid head kick as well. That'll throw a lot. She'll spam it in there. Good knees in the clinch, and she seems like she can go out there and kind of bully her opponent. Seems like a very physically strong fighter, bully type fighter. So yeah, what I saw from Martinez on the feet, I was, semi impressed, but I'm watching fights from like a while ago. So she's only 20 years old, so I think we could see Martinez potentially level up here because, like I said, I wasn't really able to watch much recent footage of her. She looks to be, like I said, very physically strong. Have seen her just muscle opponents down to the mat. Once she gets on top, her control's good. I have seen her taken down in her own right and controlled at times, but when she gets back up, she kind of goes after her opponent. She looks like a very fun and exciting fighter. She's also pretty dangerous wherever the fight goes. She has some power on the feet, a little bit of a submission game as well. Her only loss came as an amateur in a fight she was pretty much dominating the entire time, but was caught in an armbar. That was a while ago. I would like to see a little bit more from Martinez, but from what I've seen, she looks okay, and I think she brings a fun style to the table. As far as her opponent, Leslie Hernandez, she's training out of the MMA Lab. She's 26 years old, 5'3", with a 64.5-inch reach. She is 4-1 and 4-1 in her only 5 fights. No notable wins or losses either for Hernandez. She has a 50% finish rate. Half those come by knockout, 50%, and then she has no subs on her record. Some notes I have on Hernandez. She has really quick hands, has some power in her hands as well. She's also very, very hittable, but she does show a good chin. She hasn't been knocked out yet, and really haven't really seen her hurt, but yeah, she does eat a ton of shots with her face. I like that she trains at a really good gym in the MMA lab, and I like that she has really solid volume throughout the entire fight. The volume's consistent, and there's a lot of it. She has good entries on her takedowns. Looks to be pretty good in the grappling, pretty good control once she does get on top. I have seen her taken down herself, though, and she can be pretty much taken down at will. I watched a good amount of footage of Hernandez, and I kid you not, I think she was taken down in pretty much every single fight I've seen. It's not a good look. If she is able to get on top, she has some really good ground and pound, but her takedown defense definitely worries me a little bit. And I actually thought she lost one of her fights. I think it was against Christina Brador, and she was taken down a bunch in that fight as well. So she could arguably, in my opinion, be like 3-2. Yeah, the takedown defense is rough for Hernandez, but everything else, I liked what I saw. I think the striking's solid. She can wrestle a little bit in her own right, but yeah, the takedown defense could be an issue. Yeah, I wish I was able to see just a little bit more of Martinez, like I mentioned. And it's kind of a leap of faith picking her here, but from what I've seen, I liked what I saw. I liked what I saw from Martinez. I was able to watch a lot of Hernandez, and what I saw was her getting taken down in every single fight, and that could be a problem here. Martinez is only 20 years old, and I'm interested in seeing some potential improvements that she's made over the last couple of years. I have not seen her fight in a couple of years, so yeah, I think I'm gonna go with Martinez here to win the fight. I like that she looks physically strong. I think that can come into play in this fight. I can see her potentially drag the fight down to the mat here or there, win some minutes on top. But yeah, another very, very tough fight to call in my opinion. But I'll go with Martinez here to win this fight. I'll take Martinez to win this fight by decision. Martinez is -130 and Hernandez is +110. Give me the ever so slight favorite here in Martinez. All right, moving on to the next fight here, and it is, there we go. All right, so we got Yadier DelValle going against Antonio Monteiro. We will start with DelValle, who is training out of Gracie Barra, Houston. He's 28 years old, 5'9", with a 61-inch reach. He's 7-0 and 5-0 in his last 5 fights. Notable wins or losses for DelValle. He beat Michael Aswell last year by decision. Aswell was the dude that lost to Bogdan Grad by split decision. I thought he won. Aswell looked incredible in that fight. I think it was, I forget which week it was, but it was earlier this season, and I think Aswell will honestly be in the UFC very soon. DelValle has a 56% finish rate, 28% by knockout, 28% by submission. Equal opportunity finisher. Some notes I have on him here: he has very heavy leg kicks, throws some nice kicks to the body as well. Saw him drop somebody with a leg kick. Can be a little bit low volume, but does swing with bad intentions when he does decide to let his hands go, and he can get a little bit wild in there at times. I've seen him end up on his back quite a bit, and he doesn't really look to get back up, which is never a good look. It's something I just don't like personally. He will threaten with some submissions, though, once on the ground, and his BJJ does look very solid. He's comfortable on the ground, whether he's on top or on bottom. He'll jump the ghillie in there, and he'll end up giving up position, but he does have 2 submission wins on his record, and like I said, the BJJ does look pretty legit. I really don't like how comfortable he is off his back. It's just a great way to lose minutes and end up losing decisions. He will look for takedowns himself, but I don't think he has the best wrestling. If he can't get on top, like I said, he's pretty good. Good ground and pound, good submission game. Yeah, I think he looks decent overall. Fun style on the feet, impressive grappling to go along with it. But I'm not sure how high I am on this DelValle guy. As far as Antonio Monteiro, he's training at a Nova União. He's 29 years old, 5'7", with a 70-inch reach, 17-4-1, and 5-0 in his last 5 fights. Notable wins or losses: he beat Mel Costa by decision in 2017, and he's fought some other solid guys as well. Monteiro has some pretty solid competition, experienced guy, 21 fights or 22 fights on his record. So yeah, lots of experience from Monteiro. He has a 50% finish rate, 19% by knockout, and 31% by submission. Some notes I have on Monteiro: he doesn't really looks like he wants to be in there on the feet for all that long. Doesn't really look that comfortable striking. He's very, very hittable, willing to eat one to give one. He will pressure a little bit, which is nice, but he's just not doing much on the feet at all. He has shown a really good chin, and he's going to need it, which is how much this guy gets hit in the face, and he's a tough dude. But yeah, the striking defense is really something that kind of concerns me a little bit, and also the unwillingness to kind of let his hands go in there. So Monteiro is looking to get the fight down to the mat. Seems like a very slick grappler in his own right, and he has some pretty good control once he does get on top, and nasty ground and pound as well. I've seen him, not TKO multiple guys on the mat. The submission game's good as well. I like how active he is once he's on top. I've seen him defend some guillotines, which I think is going to be important here because there will be some coming his way. And I've seen him be a little bit submission over position as well, end up on bottom. I'm not too sold on this guy either. This is the toughest fight to call on the card, in my opinion. This is the fight that I actually switched my pick. Been going kind of back and forth on this one all day. But something kind of shocked me when looking at... So UFC stats will typically put up the fighters' reaches and heights, the correct ones. I think they measure them, and they put them up on the UFC stats website Monday evening-ish. And the reach disparity here is crazy. DelValle has a 61-inch reach. I'm not sure if that's a mistake or what, but like that's a Corey McKenna reach. I mean, that's disturbing. How are you about to have a Corey McKenna reach? And then Monteiro has a 9-inch reach advantage, apparently. So again, I'm not sure if that's a mistake. Did they type in the wrong numbers? Because how are you about to have a 61-inch reach? That's wild. So yeah, that kind of caught me off guard there. I don't know. This is a tough fight to call. And I think the line's reflecting that as well. I think the line's reflecting that in a lot of these fights. But I liked what I saw from Monteiro a little bit more, I'd say, I guess. I think DelValle is going to do the better work on the feet here, maybe. With a 61-inch reach, I'm not sure. I honestly have no idea who's going to win this fight, but I'm going to slightly lean Monteiro here, hoping he can get takedowns and win some minutes on top. I did not like what I saw from DelValle on bottom, losing minutes, throwing up submissions, and I think this fight's close. I think this fight's going to come down to the crooked and corrupt judges. I think it goes to decision. I think the judges are probably going to get it wrong, but I'll take Monteiro to win this fight by decision. Probably a split as well. All right, moving on to the next fight. It is Nick Piccininni going against Luis Gurule. We'll start with Piccininni. He is training out of Fortis MMA. He's 27 years old, 5'6", with a 66-inch reach. He's 7-0 and 5-0 in his last 5 fights. Notable wins or losses for Piccininni. He beat Jack Duffy this season in week number 3 by a very close split decision. We'll talk a little bit more about that fight. Piccininni has a 71% finish rate. All those come by submission, no knockouts on his record. So notes I have on Piccininni is, he won his last fight against Duffy on the Contender Series, but I honestly thought he lost that fight. I did pick him there. I thought he lost, though, if damage over control is the correct scoring criteria, which is it? It should be, but, who knows what the crooked, corrupt judges think. But yeah, Duffy did more damage, Piccininni got more control, and they ended up giving it to the guy that did more control, which, that's not how it should be, but that's how it happened. But with that said, though, Piccininni did take that Duffy fight on very short notice, I believe, and he's had a lot more time to prepare for this fight. He's known from the jump that he will be fighting on week 10, right after his fight against Duffy. Dana said, I'm going to give you one more chance, week 10, come back, and we'll see what happens, right? But yeah, Piccininni, I'm impressed with the guy. Solid jab, kicks, and pressure. Will throw overhands to close the distance and go for the takedown. He can be really low volume when the fight is standing. We did see that in the Duffy fight, but ultimately he's looking to get the fight down to the ground. He has very good wrestling, very good entries. His control is really good, and once he gets you down, you stay there. He's relentless when the fight gets down to the mat. He sticks to his opponents like glue. He'll hunt for submissions a lot. The cardio's good. And that's something you like to see from a guy that's going to go out there and need to wrestle to win fights. He will use ground and pound to open up submissions. His control really impressed me. He's very good on top. I think Piccininni is pretty dang good. As long as he's able to get the fight down to the mat, I think he's going to win most fights, including this one. So, yes, I thought he lost the Duffy fight, but Duffy's a guy that I think we'll be seeing in the UFC very, very shortly. As far as Luis Gurule, he's training out of Factory X Muay Thai. He's 30 years old, 5'5", with a 64-inch reach, 9-0, and 5-0 in his last 5 fights. No notable wins or losses for Gurule. He has a 67% finish rate, 56% by knockout, 11% by submission. So Gurule just fought 2 weeks ago in a 5-round fight. He's taken this fight on short notice. I forget who was supposed to... Oh yeah, they were supposed to do a Piccininni Duffy rematch, and then I think Duffy pulled out, and I guess Gurule stepping in here on fairly short notice here. But yeah, Gurule has pretty fast hands. He's active with the kicks. I've seen him drop before, but he was able to recover pretty quickly. I don't think he's going to get dropped in this one. He is willing to eat one to give one. I'm not a big fan of his volume, but he does get more and more aggressive as the fight goes on, I suppose. He's a very talented striker, but I don't think he has much power, and I would like to see him be a little bit more aggressive in there. He's not really looking to grapple, but his grappling does look good. Was able to get a submission win in his last fight. I think it was in maybe the third or fourth round. He can be taken down, but overall his takedown defense does look really good, and as does his scrambling ability. Going to be interesting to see if he's going to be able to stuff takedowns here against a very, very good wrestler in Piccininni. Final thoughts on this matchup. This is, I think, odds-wise, the closest fight on the card, on a card full of, like, pick'em type fights. This is a straight pick'em, minus 115 each way. I think both guys are solid, but I like Piccininni in this one here. I think the striking could actually be a little bit more competitive than people think. Yes, Gurule is the better striker, but he is low volume, and I think the threat of the wrestling might open some things up. And yeah, I think Piccininni has all the wrestling upside here. I do expect this one to be close, and I would not be surprised if this did as well come down to the corrupt judges, and we get another split decision here like we saw in the Duffy fight. I could definitely see that. And I think people might be a little bit low on Piccininni after his last Dana White's Contender Series fight. But again, he was on short notice, and Jack Duffy is a very dangerous and a very, very good fighter. So I'm going to go with Piccininni here. I'm taking him to win this fight by split decision. All right, next we have the main event. It is Heraldo Souza going against Nick Klein. We will start with Souza. He's training out of Avalcal Thai MMA. He's 29 years old, 5'11" with a 73-inch reach, 9-1-1, and 4-0-1 in his last 5 fights. Notable wins or losses for Souza. He lost to Vinildo Antunes in 2020 by first-round knockout. Antunes fought on the Contender Series earlier this season. So Souza has an 89% finish rate. 33% of those come by knockout. 56% of his wins come by submission. Some notes I have on Souza: has some really good kicks, does a lot of waiting, but when he does let his shots go, he is very powerful. He does look good. His striking defense isn't great, and he's been knocked out in his only loss, so that is something to note for sure. I have seen him drop before, and he's very careless when it comes to getting hit in the head, but in this matchup, I think he'll be okay. I think Klein wants nothing to do with the striking. So, yeah, defensively flawed in Souza, but I don't think that's going to matter here. So Souza is pretty slick on the mat, has a very opportunistic submission game, which I love, and he's finished half his wins by sub. He doesn't look to have the best wrestling, but he still finds ways to get on top of his opponent eventually. He can be submission over position at times, but I was really impressed with his ground game overall. He is over-aggressive on the mat. He's always looking to tap his opponent out, and the cardio looks decent too. He looks to be a pretty good fighter, has a ton of power on the feet, and a very dangerous grappling game. He's very well-rounded. I liked what I saw from Heraldo Souza. As far as Nick Klein, and I think Klein is stepping in here on short notice. I think it was supposed to be Wes Schultz in here against Souza. So yeah, Klein is stepping in here on short notice as well. But yeah, Klein, he's training at a Pura Vida BJJ. He's 29 years old, 6'1" with a 77-inch reach. He's 5-1 and 4-1 in his last 5 fights. No notable wins or losses for Klein. He does have an 80% finish rate. 40% of those come by knockout, and 40% of those come by submission for an 80% finish rate overall. Some notes I have on Klein: he is primarily looking to get the fight down to the mat here. He comes forward with really no regard for his own safety. He's very defensively irresponsible. I said Souza's striking defense is not great. Klein's is like worse somehow. But he's a tough dude, very tough dude. Never been finished. I think his only loss does come by submission. He just looked really uncomfortable on the feet. He was getting absolutely lit up, and I think it was his last fight. Just wasn't the best look at all. But yeah, the dude's tough. He has a lot of heart, but still. Wrestling early and often for Klein, and he does have some solid wrestling. I'll certainly give him that. Really good control once he gets on top. He doesn't really do a ton once he does get on top of his opponents, but he does do a good job at keeping them on their back. It's not the most exciting style. It's not a style that I don't think it's a contract, to be honest, but it's been working for him. The cardio isn't an issue and seems to be able to keep up the wrestling heavy pace the entire time. I think even coming in here on short notice, he should be all right. The cardio looks good. I like that he is relentless with his grappling heavy approach, and he doesn't really stop trying to go for takedowns the entire time. So yeah, I think Klein's decent, but we'll see. So final thoughts for this matchup: I think there's a path to victory for Klein here. I mean, I think there's a case to be made that he could go out there get some takedowns, control Souza en route to a 15-minute boring decision that probably doesn't get a contract. But I got to go Souza here. I think Souza's going to be the much better striker here, and it really isn't close in my opinion. I think he's going to be dangerous once the fight hits the mat as well. Anywhere this fight goes, Klein is going to be in danger here. Give me Souza to get a submission here in the second round. I'm just hoping that Souza does not get stuck on his back. Like, that's the thing. Klein could get takedowns. He could get control. But once his fight's on the feet, it's Souza all day. And then Souza also has like that very good submission game to go along with it. So I'll take Souza. Give me Souza by second round submission. There you guys have it. Thank you so much for watching. If you guys could do me a favor, like on your way out, subscribe to the channel, leave me a comment. Let me know what you guys agree with or disagree with. Sure, we'll have a lot of disagreements this week because all 5 of these fights could go either way. This is crazy. This is probably the toughest card to call in like Dana White's Contender Series history. Like, all these fights, you can make a case for either side. So it was a tough one, but we'll see how we do. Enjoy the fights. Thanks for all the support during the season. And yeah, best of luck for Dana White's Contender Series week number 10. See you guys later.